private legal practitioner Martin Kpebu was arrested, detained, and subsequently released by the Office of the Special Prosecutor in what has got a lot of Ghanaians talking, asking questions about the powers of the Office of the Special Prosecutor, particularly on the basis upon which Mr. Kpebu was arrested. Obstruction of a law officer, right? Obstruction of an officer. Essentially, that's the description. Obstruction. That's been slapped on the basis upon which he was arrested and detained. He is expected to return at 11 a.m. today. And in the aftermath of his arrest, when the reports came through exclusively to us here at TV3 and 3FM that, look, his lawyers even could not reach him. He had been taken to a facility unknown to them and they were in search of him. It got people talking. Lots of Ghanaians talking, lots of individuals asking questions. Perhaps I'll start off from there, and there's just one voice I'm going to have us hear in relation to, or with respect to, this particular subject matter of the flurry of reactions which we saw in the aftermath of Mr. Kpebu's arrest and detention. And that's none other than the former Speaker of Parliament, Professor Mike Aaron Okwe, who spoke to us yesterday. It was a very lengthy interview. I need to be very honest. I'll try my best to have us listen to a great chunk of it, from which we will proceed then to engage a bit more other persons. We'll hear from Martin Kpebu himself speak briefly as well after he was released from this detention, his expectation to return today. I'll read you bits and pieces of the OSP's account of what happened, and then we'll subject this to a bit more in terms of scrutiny, right?
3FM.
To Alfred Okansi yesterday when we were going through that breaking news segment for you here on TV3 and 3FM.
Most unfortunate, and even more so, because we need a certain amount of stability, peace, decorum in this republic to go about our developmental matters. Very, very, very important. In the first place, the special prosecutor did not even have any business involving inviting Mr. Kpebu there. If Mr. Kpebu says you are corrupt, you can sue him, or can you refer him to another agency if you think there's a crime to look into that, because your business is to investigate corruption. If Mr. Kpebu being charged with corruption, he's definitely not being charged with corruption. Therefore, we mustn't just mix things up. Because I want peace in this country. One professor of political science, Huntington, wrote something very typical of the whole of Africa. He says, we are a Praetorian society, confusing everywhere. People are abusing power everywhere. We don't strengthen our institutions, we just proliferate institutions. Instead of making the Attorney General's Department very strong to prosecute, we create something else. Those who lived at the time of this well-known DPP, Jekidako, will know how strong the Attorney General's Department has been before. And I believe that this is because we are not creating strong institutions. We keep on just proliferating and adding upon. Then we get confused in the process. I think what is happening now is very unfortunate. And all well-meaning Ghanaians must really condemn it. You know, bail being used to show people where power lies. It's not a yesterday matter. We have known it since legal practice decades ago. Bail being manipulated in this regard. There is no principle of law anywhere in any civilized country whereby the bail that must be justified must have a landed property in the name of the person who is a suspect. Because does that mean that people who don't have landed property therefore can never get bail?
92.7.
Because these are matters of principle, issues of law, issues of human rights. Now, because they can't really get the man on what they wanted, they say that, oh, why did you give an interview? You want to suppress his freedom of speech? You cannot question his granting an interview. Let us know this in this republic. You cannot question any Ghanaians giving an interview with regard to any matter. For that matter, how do you now, a policeman, whoever is that person may have been, now accost Mr. Kpebu and start having an altercation with him? I believe that this matter is most unfortunate. I have been watching this program, 10 p.m. We don't really know whether the man has been released. If this arbitrariness is allowed to continue, it will be a fundamental violation of the rule of law in this country. I am very, very much in these processes. I watched things from the pre-independence days to today. And some of us just can't stand the disrespect for people's rights. It has been going on anyway for some time in this country since 7th of January. I think this should make us all realize that it's time it stopped. And in fact, I will advocate that we should stop this proliferation of institutions of investigation and strengthen the institutions that are already there. If that should happen, it will help our country.
There's no basis, you say, for Martin Kpebu to be detained as we speak.
I beg your pardon, sir.
There's no basis for Martin Kpebu's detention whatsoever.
There's no basis, Patrick, because if you say you are investigating him for accusing you, is that part of corruption? But that is your mandate. And you must operate strictly within the parameters of your mandate. And if, therefore, you think he has maligned you, you have to sue him in the civil court or refer him to the NIB or some other investigation body, because you cannot be a judge in your own cause. That is also an affront to the rule of law and the fundamental principle of justice. You see, we should not confuse issues, because Ghana, we should be high up there. And I am particularly unhappy about some of these things which create what I've just described earlier, a Praetorian society. A Praetorian society collapses, and we don't want this country to collapse. It will not.
Now, there already, even prior to today, questions were asked as to whether the special prosecutor should be the office investigating this said allegation made by Martin Kpebu against the same office, to the extent that this reason why Martin Kpebu is being investigated was an allegation of corruption against the office, and it's the same office that is investigating him. Is that consistent with practice?
No, and that's why I say the special prosecutor cannot be the judge in his own cause. The rule of law abhors that ab initio. And for that matter, I say he may either refer him to the NIB or he may sue him in the civil court if he feels he has been detained. Because the freedom of speech issue is very, very important. The man is well known as a man you can give bail to, and tomorrow morning he will come.
92.7.
What is this kind of onerous bail term that he should bring a landed property and it must be in his own name? A Ghanaian doesn't have to have a landed property in order to defend or pursue his human rights, the right to bail. And that is very, very important. And it pains me because does the special prosecutor's office know they want to tell us that they don't know this fundamental issue of law? And if so, then what is Ghana? Where are we going to? Ghana is too good a country to suffer such things.
So that's Professor Mike Aaron Okwe when he spoke to Alfred Okansi during the breaking news development. As the story was developing all throughout the evening up until when we got exclusive word that Martin Kpebu had finally been released from detention. Subsequently, he spoke to my colleague Martin Asiedu Date as well at his premises after he was released. He was encompassed by a number of persons, family, work associates, and the likes. And this is his version of account from what transpired during his engagement at the Office of the Special Prosecutor yesterday as well.
There's an arrest. So somehow it was like like a fairy tale. So my spirits were still up. I mean, when I was taken into custody, I was here to, be undressed, and then you do the custody gowns and those. So my spirits were still very high because I knew that I hadn't done anything wrong. Look, what they've actually done is that this is a suicide mission that Kissie Jabin's OSP has embarked on. Yeah, he can pretend he has nothing to do with it, but he's the head. Okay, the one who called the policeman to arrest me, he's called Seth Ablomensa. Seth Ablomensa, he's the chief of staff at the OSP. He's the one who directed Mr. Opoku, the policeman, to arrest me, right? And what was it? As you see, earlier on in the day when I went in there, I came out to grant this is an interview. So when I returned, then there was a soldier. Can you imagine? We'll come to what a soldier is doing at the OSP, performing police duties. We'll leave that aside. But when I got back into the OSP, then one of the soldiers told me, and by the way, they weren't wearing name tags. They didn't have name tags, and yet they were performing police duties. And there were two policemen too. So one of the soldiers told me that, but we allowed you to park. You see, the tone we allowed you to park was like, even parking was a favor. So I didn't understand. Next time, when you come in here, we will not allow you to go out. So I retorted that, no, he has no right to curtail my rights. In any event, I'm just there to help, right? They said, come and give further information. I'm not under any investigation. I'm not a suspect. I'm not an accused person. So then I continued going. Then a colleague of his, another soldier, then shouted to me, that next time I do that, I will see. That's what I said, next time. So that kind of threat, the Ghanaian English, next time you do that, you will see. In Ghanaian English, that means he will cause me some harm. You will see. There will be consequences, even if it's not physical harm, but there will be consequences. So I turned and gave him the same answer that no, he has no right. I'm not a suspect. Even a suspect, can you do that? So I said he had no right. Then next thing I knew, he said, I'm stupid. That's what the soldier said.
On 3FM,
the soldier said, I am stupid. Oh, of course. So I turned back and told him that he's also stupid. So we exchanged a few words. And then one of my lawyers pulled me for us to go in. We went, and then, as usual, the OSP chose to present employees. When we had made it clear at the second meeting that, look, considering that almost all of my allegations are against Kissie Jabin, who is the special prosecutor, and these are his subordinates. The subordinates can't do much about their bosses. Martin, say do that. Can you investigate if, let's say, Mr. Nyama, your this COO? You can't investigate Mr. Nyama, much less the MD. So that's the same thing. And even before I was invited, Ghanaians had said it on various social media and private messages to me that how can OSP investigate itself? But you know me, I'm a law-abiding citizen. I thought that as long as they can do something to accommodate that, to show independence, I'm willing to give the information. In any event, I'm almost done. I'm presenting the petition to the president for onward submission to the CJ. I have a lot of charges. As I'm talking to now, I have over 15 charges against Kissie Jabin. I'm not running away from this fight. So the least they shouldn't have even tried it. You don't try such a thing. You see, you don't try such a thing. It just tells you the very incompetency. My arrest and detention underscores the incompetence with which Kissie Jabin sat down and allowed Oforiatta to run. Kissie is not up to scratch. Kissie has never been up to scratch because, you see, How would you arrest Kpebu when I had already said it? Today is 3rd December. I mentioned on 2nd of November, you can check on the key points, that I'll be presenting a petition for his removal. So such a person like me, and you know me, once I say I'm going to do this, I'll do it. So just stay clear of. Look, I don't mind the arrest, even assuming the exchanges with the soldier were illegal and so amount to something that they want to arrest. Remember, in law, there's a difference between arrest and detention. The arrest is you tag the person, you are under arrest, I'm investigating you for so and so offense. So when you are done, admit the person to bail, right? Then let the investigations continue. Can you imagine Ablomensa said, yes, they were admitting me to bail, but I should bring a property in my name. For what? So a soldier insults me, Martin, you are stupid. And I also tell him you are stupid. That's the effect of the words.
So that's the reason why you were detained?
Yes, that I should bring property in my name. And where's the indenture? Fortunately for me, my office is just about 10 minutes from the OSP. I have indenture in the office. So when we argued, my lawyers argued for about 15, not that continuously 15. My lawyers made a plea that, look, I should be given self-recognizance bail, right? And then Ablomensa said, okay, he would go consult. So he stepped out. So we thought it was going to be a favorable response. So when then subsequently he came in about 15 minutes and said, no, they would not do so. They will not vary the conditions to give self-recognizance. So then I told Mr. Marcelinus Bia, one of my lawyers who accompanied me, okay, Marcel, go to the office. I have indenture in my name. Just bring it. And my office is just, you can see, you can attest. There's less than 10 meters drive to the OSP. So Marcel came. Long story short, so Mr. Ablomensa asked that I be handcuffed and taken to custody, that it was too late, and that even when we brought the indenture, they would have to do verification. So practically talking about justification for exchanging words with a soldier who didn't know the writing. He's not supposed to be performing police duties. A soldier performing police duties in the OSP. You see the very thing we've been talking about. Article 210 of our Constitution is clear that, look, you soldiers for war and then maybe some development activities. But here you had the police, two policemen in there. And so, if anything, if you think the building is under threat, anything, you use the soldiers as backup. But if you go to the OSP, the soldiers are performing frontline duties. You see, this thing I've been mentioned that soldiers are taking away the work of the police. You see, it has manifested. It's not only in the Galamsey fight. Now, ordinary OSP, soldiers have taken away the work of the police, performing frontline duties. If you think the building is under threat, let the soldiers be at the back. Let the soldiers be at the back. What are they doing front line? And there was a policeman. Now, let me repeat with all the emphasis. Look, get it. You see, as I mentioned, the policeman who initially came and told us to move, we shouldn't do the interview where we were. You know, when I came in, he said nothing to me. He's Mr. J. I don't see his first name. Usually, they'll just put the surname. J. He stood there. He was quiet. Then I went past him. But these soldiers who couldn't contain it. So you see that there's a difference in the training. Police are trained differently from soldiers. Soldiers is war, high aggression. So for them, they couldn't contain it. So the policeman who came and, just like we're doing this interview, told us to move from there. We're not on the direct frontage of the OSP. The interview was being done on an ECG facility, which is near the entrance. So perhaps ECG to provide backup electricity for OSP and the other buildings in there.
Sunrise
But when
on
you go there, you see that this is an
the
ECG
best in the
facility. So that's
morning.
where the interviews were being granted. But even then, when Mr. J, the policeman, came and said we should move, the Joy News cameraman and Fatal, the journalists who were interviewing me, they were questioning his authority because for them, they were clear that this is an ECG facility, not OSP. Look, their camera, I'm sure, were live. It will bear me out.
So that's Martin Kpebu. It's a much longer detail than this. But I want to go through the Office of the Special Prosecutor's response as well. It's a lengthy one from a pattern of misconduct where they mentioned that Mr. Kpebu has been openly engaged in act of misconduct against the Office of the Special Prosecutor and its assigned persons. They mentioned that the investigation is separate from the allegations, misleading the public about investigators. Then the bit I'm going to get into is what actually happened at the OSP premises. Now, they say that upon arriving, Mr. Kpebu parked his vehicle and stepped outside the gate to conduct an interview. He always does this, brings in media men to speak to them before entering, and after exiting, security personnel cautioned him to move away from the entrance, so he moved to the fried yam seller's spot and continued speaking to the media. Afterwards, he entered the compound alone. The guards reminded him that photography and videography are not permitted around the premises. Escalation and arrest. He reacted angrily to the reminder and insulted the guards. They issued a formal warning about his conduct, but he insisted he could act as he pleased and threatened to report them. He told them they are nobodies, even their boss, head of the agency, is nobody and will be removed soon. His continued insult and obstructive behavior led to his arrest for the offense of obstruction of officers in the performance of their duties. He was informed of his arrest on suspicion of obstruction in accordance with the law. The arrest was executed without force, and there is no internal record of any assault or mistreatment. Bail processing and conduct of counsel. Following the arrest, bail was granted according to standard administrative procedure. The conditions were explained to him and his counsel. However, one of the lawyers refused to leave the premises until Mr. Kpebu was brought back. She insulted officers and caused a scene. And this is where people have circled and are asking questions. She insulted officers and caused a scene, all of which was recorded. Despite her behavior, officers removed her gently and without force. Their professionalism deserves commendation. Mr. Kpebu was transferred to a secured holding area as part of normal processing. Public concerns have been raised about the detention location, but internal records show that all the transferred followed protocol. At no point was he denied access to counsel or due process. In all of this, there's a question being asked, right? Whether or not the Office of the Special Prosecutor acted within its powers as handed to it in that legislation passed in 2017, and if arrests will be made on obstruction of officers from performing lawful duty, whether or not the Office of the Special Prosecutor or its personnel should be engaged in activities like that. Have they gone beyond their powers? Are they abusing their powers at this point? On the subject matter of bail as well, that's been spoken about a lot in great detail. Is the Office of the Special Prosecutor using bail as a means to keep people detained? Is another question that's been asked. And we can get onto the phone lines right now and speak to Jean-Baptiste Ayeje. He's a private legal practitioner and a law lecturer at the University of Professional Studies. Counselor, I appreciate you joining us this morning, and I trust that all is well with you.
All is well. Thank you very much, and I hope all is well with you as well.
We're managing, just slight cold, but we're back. We're back in the studio, and so I think all is well. There's this germane question being asked in the aftermath of everything that's happened with the Office of the Special Prosecutor and Martin Kpebu. The first is whether or not there's a concern of abuse of powers. In looking at the act that set up the Office of the Special Prosecutor, Act 959, there are those who make the argument that, look, the office simply went beyond its powers yesterday when it sought to arrest Martin Kpebu for obstruction of officers and subsequently seek to detain him. Where do you stand in all of this?
Thank you. So, for me, the first thing we need to understand is that whenever you are given a state powers, there's always a statute that seeks to regulate what you can do and what you can't do. And all this framed up within the concept of rule of law, because we don't want to have men ruling, but we want to have the rule ruling us. So based on that, and looking at the statutes that kind of establish the OSP, it's clear that I seem to agree with those who are of the opinion that they may have to be going beyond their powers, because everybody knows what they are supposed to do, what kind of offenses that they are supposed to more or less prosecute. So if you look at what happened yesterday as against their statutes, then clearly there's something amiss. And again, I fully agree with them. However, it does not mean that, for instance, in this case, where the OSP is established to deal with, let's say, corruption-related offenses, if someone commits an offense that is different from the corruption-related offenses, nothing can be done. They can rather refer the person to a different institution. So, in my opinion, that's what should have been done yesterday, and not they being at the front dealing with the matter as it played out yesterday.
So they should have been perhaps arresting Martin Kpebu for obstruction, which is the charge they are seeking to slap on him, and then handed him over to the police.
Yes, if what they are saying is true, is what really happened, that should be what they should be doing. Or the other thing is that, of course, you know, we are dealing with Martin Kpebu, all right, who is a lawyer, who is known. So for me, there's not even need to arrest him. You can just write a complaint to maybe the CID or any other, and then they will invite him later for the matter to be discussed. So the arrest itself for me is an issue because there are conditions under which you have to arrest someone, as in detain the person. The law provides for condition under that. And the other condition, you just tell the person that you are under arrest, and you don't have to handcuff and all those things if there's no need for that. So my personal opinion is that if what the OSP are saying, or OSP is saying that happened, really happened, just, you know, write a complaint to a different institution, and then they will invite him as in when they think they want to do that, and then the matter will go on. And this is not the first time something like that has happened. It has happened several times where the person will just refer to the other institution, and then the other institution will take it up, and then we invite him as to when they need to invite him.
But I'm looking at the Office of the Special Prosecutors Act, right? And Section 28 says, it's titled Officers to Exercise Powers of Police. It reads that the special prosecutor and authorized officers shall exercise the powers of a police officer specified in the Criminal and Other Offences Procedure Act 1960 or any other enactment. By inference, someone can argue that if they can exercise the powers of police, then in exercising that powers and arresting someone on the charge of obstruction will fall within their mandate.
Yes, but you see, you read a statute in a whole, as we are taught in law school and as we teach law students. So, yes, he's being given power to arrest, but that power to arrest is within the framework of his work. For instance, he's been given, what's the framework of his work? He's been given the power to deal with corruption-related offenses. So when you are dealing with corruption-related offenses, then you can arrest. So that power given to you to arrest is within the framework of the offenses that you'll be given to. And for me to even extend it, even a private person, Eric, you can arrest. We don't have the power to arrest. Right. The law gives us a limited power under which we can arrest someone if the person seems to be committed an offense, or, you know, the Criminal Act is clear on that. So just saying that because the Act says he's being given power to arrest, right, then that justifies, you know, arresting and all that, with the greatest of respect, is not convincing enough to me.
Comes in the subject of bail, because he was arrested on the charge of obstruction, was to be granted bail, and the Office of the Special Prosecutor says, we need a landed property in your name before bail can be granted you. It's not the first time we're hearing things like this. In fact, Iyoko has also been accused of same, and other state agencies. The person in the center of all of this, Martin Kpebu, is one who has sought to make bail available to all persons and has gone to the Supreme Court a number of times on this particular front, to have witnessed that in a matter which many would describe as a misdemeanor, was requiring him to bring a landed property in his name. Some say the bail regime as we have it is still seeking to punish people because they do not have certain things, and if you don't have it, you're kept behind custody for a lack of not being able to meet bail.
Yes, Marina, interestingly, I wrote an article yet to be published on this issue of bail, looking at the terms and the conditions. And what we need to understand first is that the terms and the conditions are discretionary, all right? And when we talk about discretion, Article 23 and Article 296 are clear on that it must not be used capriciously, arbitrarily, and the rest. So the discretion given to state apparatus to come up with, even it extends even to the courts, all right? They must be done fairly. Good. And now let's deal with this matter where there's maybe back and forth. If you look at, I've read the statement of the OSP, which I even have issue with because OSP is the state's apparatus.
We'll actually get into that statement as well.
Okay. So the bail terms for me is harsh and not necessary. I was saying that I wrote an article on that, and I don't understand why, because the law is clear on that. In plethora of cases, that bail shouldn't be used as a way to punish the client or the accused person. And I've had several times where I have to go back to the court and ask the court to vary the bail as is known. So for me, it's just not necessary. This landed property, these are some of the difficult, bail terms to fulfill, because now they'll have to go back to the land commission and verify if it's true or not, and it could take very long time. So for that offense that was charged against him, and based on whatever we've heard, I mean, you can't just give yourself recognizance bill. You go and come back. That one will suffice. So any other bill beyond that, I seem to agree with those who say that it's just an abuse of power, and maybe there could be something more than just trying to, apply the law.
Let's talk about that statement that came through from the Office of the Special Prosecutor now. A bit not in the right framing, not in the right taste, because of the position they occupy as a law enforcement agency. They also make the argument that, look, you should be building trust now at a time when there is increasing pressure on the office, and tangentials like we saw highlighted in the statement raise very, very serious concerns.
Yes, it does, and that's the unfortunate part, because it seems as if we want to major in the minor and then minor in the major. You have what you are supposed to do. You have the expectation of the public on what you are supposed to be doing, and it seems to be more interesting. Because look, even before we get into their response and everything, even the reason why Kpebu is being invited to the office, for me, it doesn't even make sense. I mean, legally speaking, or even reasonable man test, I don't think that should even call for invitation. Invitation for what? If the person has made an allegation that you think is false, report the person. You can take a civil matter. Clearly, these are defamatory statements if they are not proven, if they are not true. Because even in defamation, truth is a defense. But if it's not true, then take an action against it. But you, the OSP, calling the person and try to investigate the person, and they claim that it's not investigation. When I was reading the report, there's a point where he said that GRA, when they have a committee and part finding that the GRA will do it, and when you have this one will do it. But is Martin Kpebu a member or an employee of the OSP? Because, for instance, my school where I teach, if I do something that I lead to misconduct, the school may set up a committee to investigate it because I'm an employee. But Martin Kpebu is not an employee of the OSP. So you using that example to justify inviting him, for me, it doesn't even wash. That's the first point. And the second point has to do with even the format of the statement, the fact that it doesn't even come on maybe the OSP former letterheads and all those things. But I know we live in a time of technology where people can just go on their social media and make statements. But I think we should be more formal so that, because at the time we look at it and we are not too sure, is it really coming from him? Is it that someone else has done it and all that? So for me, either way you look at it, I feel they could have done a bit better. And, I don't know if they are inclined to listening to the public or getting feedback. If they do, then there's a lot of work that must be done. Because the more they talk, the more we are confused, the more we ask a lot of questions. And I'm not a PR expert, but any institution where anytime you talk, there are more questions than answers, then you should know that something clearly is wrong. And they have to sit up and make sure that things are done well.
And even in the statement, there's a bit where they mention that after Mr. Kpebu was arrested and he was being processed for bail, another lawyer was also insulting and refusing to leave without Martin Kpebu. People have raised questions and said that is obstruction too. How come that counsel was not arrested if Mr. Kpebu was arrested for obstruction? This looks more like a targeted action rather than the OSP actually wanting to tell Ghanaians that he was arrested for obstruction, because another lawyer was obstructing as well, but nothing happened to that lawyer, was escorted rather outside of the premises.
Exactly. You are confirming where I just stopped at, is that the more the issue statement, the more questions we have. And these are some of the questions that they are raising. And Mawena, if you read the text, they claim that whatever Senior Kpebu did, if it was done at any place, the same issue will happen. There will be an arrest. So if the other lawyer did the same thing, why are you not arresting that lawyer? Then you finish and you praise yourself that they've acted professionally and all that. Clearly, is not really, adding up. So yes, these are some of the issues that I was referring to that seem to suggest. Lord Denny, is one great judge that every law students, lawyers, and even those who are not law students know about him. Said that it's difficult to, and we all know it, all right, is that you can't read a man's mind. You don't know what the man is thinking, but you can only look at his actions to determine what he's thinking. So at this stage, we can only look at the action of the OSP. Then we come to the conclusion that, look, we don't think they have a genuine case against him, and they are just going after him because maybe he's creating a bad press. Because even when you read that statement, you will see that tone. That lawyer Martin Kpebu, anytime he comes, he will go and then be telling people that the OSP will be removed very soon, that the OSP is incompetent. Then you can see that there's an issue with what he says as a private citizen who has freedom of speech to express what he thinks about an office than, applying the law. For instance, personally, I've been on record saying several times that office shouldn't even be there at the first place. That is just a waste of the taxpayers' money and it should be scrapped. So no one should be, as it were, be, called to answer for sharing opinions. So yes, it is, confirm those suspicion that you spoke about, Mawena.
Finally, on the office in generality, it has come under quite some pressure. The pressure continues to mount. We understand 3 petitions have gone. There are those who made the argument that, look, based on the concerns and all that was being raised, it really doesn't look like there is merit in any of these petitions, even though we're yet to see the content of the petition. But some of the individuals have been speaking to it. Does this singular action become the final nail in the coffin for Kissie Jabin's reign as the special prosecutor, and by extension, the entire office? Because now the narrative which is growing is that we haven't seen the usefulness of this office. Why must it still continue to exist?
Yes, that could be the final. But whether or not it will lead to any change, we are yet to look at it. But again, I agree with most people who think that we have to take a second look at the office. Yesterday, I was listening to the Right Honorable Professor Michael Kwe, and he seems to be repeating the same thing, that we have to take a second look at the office and the way they operate, because it seems as if it's being used for different things aside what really it should be doing. I don't know if, a lot has been done that we don't know about, but from what we see, it seems as if it's just be using for a different matter. And it was just yesterday that my senior Francis Xavier was saying that they have approved the budget. So if we are pumping money into such an institution, we should be able to see a result. And if we can't, then there's a genuine cause for us to look at it. Would this be the last nail on the coffin? We are yet to see. But personally, I don't know if it will lead for a total scrap. But if not for anything, I think that the person of the special prosecutor and his function, his competence, and the rest should be looked at to determine whether or not he's fit for that office. And if it's clear that he's not fit, then maybe for now we may have to replace him and then bring someone else. But if you ask me, I'll agree with the Professor Makokwe, his suggestion that we should rather empower the DPP for them to take over this office than creating, because we keep on creating institutions every now and then, and it's like it becomes waste. The more we multiply institutions, the more the canker, multiply. So at a point, as human beings, we must sit down and ask whether or not, creating more institutions is the solution for our problem. And if creating more have not been able to solve, then we should be able to look at other options, alternative options, strengthening the one that we have already, so that they can perform the work. Because, again, let me digress a bit. If you look at even the working of the OSP, some have argued, and I seem to argue with them, that it kind of conflicts, because Article 88 is clear on who has the power to prosecute criminal offenses. But we are in a case where at times when I listen to OSP, I feel as if he's on the same pedestal with the AG, or everyone is boss in his own lane and all that. Clearly, which cannot. So we have to take a second look at the office, and then if there's need to change, then we should do that.
Thank you very much. Counsel, I appreciate you joining us and speaking to us this morning on such short notice.
You're welcome, Marina.
That's private legal practitioner and lecturer at the University of Professional Studies, Jean-Baptiste Ayaja, speaking to us this morning on the matters in relation to the Office of the Special Prosecutor and its tangle with Martin Kpebu from yesterday. A bit more for you in terms of the reactions.
It's not what it is. But like I'm saying, whether or not it is the issue, tomorrow morning I expect this OSP to tender in his resignation. We are not joking in this country. He cannot be using some of these intimidating tactics. Then he's wrong-footed. He has been caught wrong-footed. Because the people of this country that wants accountability are not interested in some of these charades. Martin Kpebu remains a fighter in the corruption business, and that so long as he's calling you the OSP out, if you cannot work, these intimidations will never get to anybody.
Right, but
and I'm saying that yes.
Yeah, also.
Episode again.
.7 3 FM.
Ooh, ooh. This December, give your kids what they really want. Your time, your full attention. Cerelac in partnership with 3FM presents Family Fun Day. Hashtag Familac 2025. A full day adventure packed with games, family competitions, live performances happening Friday, 5th December at Good Park from 9 a.m. To register your family for free, dial *928*12*11#. For vendor bookings or inquiries, call or WhatsApp us on 053-11-00927 or 053-220-0927. Family Fun Day, powered by Cerelac and brought to you by 3FM. This December, give your kids what they really want. Your time, your full attention.
92.7 3FM. 92.7 3FM. 92.7 3FM. 92.7 3FM. 92.7 3FM. 92.7 3.
Years been long, deadlines, hustle, pressure. Now it's time to breathe, to dance, to feel again. The music hits, waves crush, energy rises.
FM.
And the reason for which he was invited was what has been the result of the previous invitation to assist.
Now, there is no reason why a person invited to assist with investigations must be detained. And so my view is that if it is in relation to what we've already read and what we already know, there is no basis whatsoever for the detention of Martin Kpebu. And as if what we are telling you is correct, that we don't even know where he is. I am beginning to think that the OSP is abusing his powers. And if he is listening to us, I think he should release Martin Kpebu immediately.
My beloved countries